What if I told you? She thinks about you more than you know, yet she still won't make the first move. Attraction isn't just chemistry. It's psychology. It's shaped by fear, unspoken expectations, and emotional strategy. That silence, the one that frustrates you, it may be more revealing than you think. Because what appears as hesitation is often a test. And most men fail not because they lack value, but because they misread the moment. But if you learn to see what's happening beneath the surface, if you truly understand the dynamics at play, you stop waiting. You stop hoping. You start positioning yourself as the man she can't ignore. Right now, you have two choices. You can keep overanalyzing, caught in a loop of doubt, or you can take control, shift the energy, and let her come to you. The silence strategy, why her silence speaks volumes. Silence isn't absence. It's not indifference. It's not about forgetting you. Silence can be a signal, deliberate, measured, powerful. It's emotional positioning, a move in the game of uncertainty. You might think she's moved on, but she hasn't. She still checks your profile, still rereads old messages, still wonders. But she won't be the one to break the silence, because if you break it first, she wins. The moment you reach out, you confirm what she already suspects. You're still emotionally tied. You're still affected. And that knowledge, it gives her power. Your need for closure becomes her validation. Your pursuit makes her retreat. But what happens when you stop chasing? When your silence becomes the void she can't ignore, that's when everything shifts. Suddenly, her sense of certainty wavers. What once validated her now unsettles her. She expected you to chase. But now your absence speaks louder than any message ever could. And that's the difference. You're not playing games. You're practicing discipline. You're not reacting. You're reclaiming control. Because a man who can't master his emotions will always be at the mercy of someone else's. React impulsively, and she sees it, proof she still has a grip on you. But when you hold your ground, focus on your own growth, and move forward with clarity, that's when she starts to feel the shift. Mystery is magnetic. Predictability repels. The man who's too available, too quick to respond, too eager to please, loses his edge. But the man who becomes an enigma, who lets silence speak for him, he becomes impossible to ignore. She starts to wonder, why aren't you chasing? Why does she no longer affect you the way she once did? That uncertainty is what reawakens attraction. But here's the catch. This only works if it's real. If deep down you're still waiting on her, hoping she comes back, craving her attention, she'll feel it. Women are intuitive. They sense emotional need. The real test isn't whether she comes back. It's whether you've evolved enough not to care if she does. Because by the time she realizes what she lost, you won't be looking back. The chase paradox, why chasing pushes her away. The harder you chase, the further she runs. It's a paradox that most men don't understand until it's too late. You believe that if you just show her how much you care, if you prove your love with grand gestures, long messages, emotional confessions, you'll change her mind. But the truth is this. Every time you chase, you reinforce one thing, that she holds the power. And nothing kills attraction faster than a man who willingly gives up his power. Women don't regret walking away from a man who begs. They don't second-guess leaving the one who crumbled. They regret losing the man who was strong enough to let go. The one who said, "If you don't see my value, that's your loss, not mine." Desperation repels. Strength attracts. But real strength isn't pretending you don't care. It's actually being at peace with whatever happens next. Ask yourself this. When you chase something, what are you admitting? That it's running from you. And if it's running, it doesn't want to be caught. When you chase her, she knows she has the upper hand. She knows you're still emotionally invested. And the more emotionally invested you are, the less power you have. But what happens when you stop chasing? When you stop texting, stop checking, stop reacting? Suddenly, that certainty she felt, it disappears. Instead of feeling pursued, she feels a void. Instead of confidence in her choice, she begins to question it. And that absence, your absence, starts to echo. She begins to wonder, why isn't he reaching out? Has he moved on? Is he seeing someone else? That curiosity becomes doubt, and doubt becomes regret. This is the power of stillness, the power of not needing to prove anything. Because your silence can deliver what your words never could, a shift in perception. But here's the key. You must actually embrace this mindset. This isn't about pretending you've moved on, it's about genuinely doing so. It's about reclaiming your self-worth, rediscovering your purpose, and realizing your value isn't defined by her decision to stay or leave. When you reach the point where her regret no longer matters, that's when it often shows up. Because attraction isn't about convincing someone to want you. It's about becoming someone they cannot ignore. The power of emotional mastery. Why control equals attraction. In relationships, your ability to control your emotions determines your ability to shape the outcome. When you react every time she pulls away, you hand over power. When her silence breaks your composure, you confirm she still controls your emotional state. But when you remain calm, when you carry on as if her absence changes nothing, you create a shift. And that shift triggers doubt. She starts to wonder, why isn't he affected? Why isn't he chasing? Why does he seem completely at peace? And that uncertainty quietly pulls her back in. Women are drawn to men who are grounded, not cold, not indifferent, but emotionally centered no matter the circumstance. This isn't about playing games. It's about embodying a mindset of self-worth, of no longer seeking external validation to feel whole. Emotional mastery doesn't mean bottling everything up. It means acknowledging your emotions, understanding them, and refusing to let them control your behavior. Because when you control your emotions, you control the story. And when you control the story, you become the kind of man who isn't just attractive. You become unforgettable. The mystery effect, why being unpredictable increases your value. Predictability is the death of desire. The moment she can predict your every move is the moment she stops feeling intrigued. Mystery creates magnetism. It's not about being confusing, it's about being dynamic, unfolding, evolving. The most unforgettable men are never fully understood. They reveal just enough to be interesting, never enough to be entirely known. Most men make the mistake of being too available, too transparent, too eager. They overshare, respond instantly, always show up when called. In doing so, they remove all tension. And without tension, there is no desire. But when you break that pattern, when you stop reacting as expected, stop explaining yourself, stop being predictable, you force her to pay attention. She starts to question what changed. She wonders whether she still knows you, and that wondering creates intrigue. Think about the people who linger in your mind. They're the ones who left questions unanswered, the ones who had layers you never fully reached. That's the power of mystery. Keeps you in her thoughts long after the last word is spoken. But this isn't about pretending to be mysterious. It's about genuinely living a life so rich, so driven by purpose, that you naturally become someone she cannot pin down. She expects you to chase. Don't. She expects you to explain. Stay silent. She expects you to break. Stay composed. Every time you do the opposite of what she expects, you reclaim power and reignite attraction. The power shift, making her regret losing you. Regret isn't created by pleading. It doesn't come from heartfelt texts or last-minute calls. Regret is born in absence. It's born when your presence is no longer guaranteed, when your attention is no longer free, when your life no longer orbits around her. A woman regrets losing a man when she realizes he wasn't ordinary. He was rare, valuable, unrepeatable, and that realization doesn't happen while you're still waiting in the background. It happens when she sees you've grown, that you've elevated, that you've evolved into something more without her. Right now, she might expect you to linger, to watch from a distance, to hope. She expects you to be emotionally tethered to the possibility of her return. That expectation gives her power. But the moment you break that pattern, when she sees that you're not waiting, not chasing, not even looking back, the balance shifts. She begins to feel the weight of what she walked away from. Not because you tried to make her see it, but because your silence, your growth, and your absence spoke louder than words ever could. You became the man she didn't think you could become without her. And that is when the regret sets in. The psychological trigger, why she watches but won't reach out. She's still watching, even if she hasn't called, even if her silence is deafening, even if she acts like she's moved on. She checks the posts, the stories, the updates. She reads the room without saying a word. But if she still cares, why doesn't she reach out? Because reaching out means admitting something she's not ready to face, that she no longer holds the power, that now she's the one wondering. And that shift, it's uncomfortable. A woman will cling to silence as long as it allows her to feel in control. Breaking that silence means vulnerability. It means revealing her curiosity, her doubt, her investment. So she waits, watches, silently hoping you'll break the silence first. But the longer you stay silent, the more unsettled she becomes. Your absence isn't just quiet, it's pressure. It forces her to fill in the blanks, to question what she assumed, to feel the uncertainty you once felt. She believed you'd always be there, that she could come back whenever she wanted. But when she senses that you've moved on, not pretending but actually moved on, that's when the weight hits. That's when the silence turns inward. Here's the truth. If you're still hoping she regrets losing you, you haven't fully let go. And as long as you're still holding on, she still has influence. The real power is not in making her miss you. It's in getting to a place where it doesn't matter if she does. Because by then, you've already won. You've evolved beyond her reach. The final test, true attachment and ultimate freedom. This is the final test. Not whether she regrets it, but whether you have moved beyond needing her to. Because as long as you're still checking, still hoping, still wondering, you're still tied to her, still chained to the past. True detachment is not pretending to move on. It's not a tactic to make her chase. It's not silence with hidden expectations. It is freedom. It is waking up and knowing that her absence means nothing. That your joy, your peace, your identity is yours alone. If you still think, will she come back? You haven't let go. If you still want her to regret losing you, you haven't stepped into your full power. Freedom begins when you stop needing closure. When you stop needing to be understood. When you realize you didn't lose her, she lost you. What did she walk away from? A man who could have loved her deeply, who could have built with her, but she doubted, hesitated, and let go. And what did you gain? Clarity, strength, a life not defined by anyone else's approval. You gained the power to create a future without compromise. You gained the version of you who doesn't chase, who chooses. That is the final test. When her regret no longer matters, because you've already risen. What felt like rejection wasn't about you. It was about her fears, her uncertainty, her need for control. And now you don't wait. You don't beg. You don't chase. You shift the balance with grace. Because your power was never in her hands. It was in how you held yourself through it all. If you're done second-guessing and ready to own your evolution, like this video, subscribe and comment below. I own my power. Stay sharp. Stay unshakable. Because the right energy always attracts the right outcome.